Hello and welcome to all our viewers. Today we have a very special guest with us, Professor Chetan Singh Solanki, and he is not only an educator but also an innovator and a researcher, and has been on leave from IIT Bombay for now since 2020, and on a solar bus most of the time. And now you are completing 1,000 days of the
Yes,
yatra
yes.
soon, and Energy Swaraj Yatra is planned for 11 years. And the main mission is to promote and spread awareness for the adoption of solar energy in India. And you've also been called the Solar Man of India and Solar Gandhi. And we at Weather and Radar are a forecasting company. We promote information about accurate weather forecast in India for our users via the app in Hindi, in English, and in Tamil. As of now, the three languages, we would aim to have more. And most of our users are from both urban India and from the rural areas, especially from farming communities. And that's where the questions also coming from for you today. And the first and maybe the most important question is how would you explain what is climate change to a person from rural India and also to a person from a city? Would there be a difference, and how would you do it?
Well, I think, first of all, thank you very much for having me. It is my pleasure to talk, and it is always a pleasure for a professor to talk about the topic for which I am doing my 11 years yatra. Well, I think whether it is rural or urban, it does not matter. The climate change is climate change. And one of the most simple thing that I keep telling people is forget about anybody to explain it. Do you feel that things are changing? Do you feel that what used to be there, the weather, and it is not there same anymore, which means it is changing. So I keep asking this question myself to people, and people give different answer. But simple thing is that the weather system of the past and presents are different. Monsoon is not same anymore. The winter is not same anymore, and the summer is not same anymore. So this is climate change for all of us. Not only that, and if you look at the data, and maybe some people will appreciate that, that there is what is called extreme weather events, right? So if you plot the histogram of weather events, the top 10% of extreme floods, extreme droughts, extreme forest fires are referred as extreme weather events. The number, as per the World Meteorological Organization, the number in the last 4 decades, from if you compare the decade of 1979 with 2010 to 2019, the number has gone up by almost 500%. So there is a 5-fold increase in the extreme floods, in the extreme forest fires event in the last 4 decades itself. So that's a tremendous, tremendous change. And everybody can experience it. I mean, we do not need scientists and professors anymore to tell that climate has changed. You go and ask everybody, and I'm sure everybody, whether urban or rural, is feeling that something is not same anymore.
That is true. That's a good way to explain it to somebody. Just do you feel it or do you not feel it? I mean, it is mostly an obvious answer, you're right. But, many Indians think also that the so-called advanced economies are responsible for the climate change. So why should we as Indians feel the brunt of it and curtail our needs and, so to say, to be punished for the sins of others? What would be your response to that?
Well, I mean, first of all, yeah, I mean, not everybody does that, says that, people do say that, and they keep throwing this question to me also. And in a way, technically, they are not wrong. They're correct that the Western world has used a lot of resources in the past, and that has emitted a lot of carbon dioxide. But I keep telling that no matter what has happened in the past, but we cannot use this line of arguments if at all you want to correct the climate change. Because the moment you start the argument, Africa would say, that India is doing more than we, and then Europe will say India's population is higher than ours, and all kind of arguments. You will never be able to come to any conclusion. So I keep saying to all policymakers and the government that please do not get into that argument. On the other hand, if we take this challenge as an opportunity, we can create a ecosystem where we generate energy and consume energy in a manner that it not only it solves the problem of energy alone, but it also solves the problem of job creation. It also solves the problem of independence from other country where we are depending on imported energy. It solves the problem of always worrying about the foreign exchange reserves. It solves the problem of carbon emission and of course the climate change. So I keep telling everyone that look guys, and this is an opportunity. Take it as an opportunity. We need a different ecosystem and we means it's not only India, but the world needs a different ecosystem of the manner in which we generate and consume our energy. And that is what I believe in, localized energy generation and consumption, not the centralized way of generation and consumption.
And what would you respond to people who are, is another prejudice maybe, where people say that nature has the ability to regulate itself, so there would be a self-healing kind of thing, and people do not really play a big role in that. So what can we respond to that?
Nature definitely has an ability to, regain its balance. But unfortunately, if we leave it to nature, humans will not be part of the nature anymore. So, I mean, don't be stupid. Yes, nature has it, but if you keep creating a problem and keep polluting the same water that you are only drinking, and if you're creating this polluting the same air that you are only going to breathe, please don't rely on the nature and don't say that God will take care, right? So don't be stupid, and I would say to people like that. Dinosaurs were part of the problem, part of the nature once upon a time, but due to the climate change, they did not survive. And humans are much more delicate animals than the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs couldn't survive. The humans will not be able to survive. So I hope people are wise enough to realize that nature will definitely heal itself, but in the scheme of nature, humans will not be part of it.
Very true. Many of our users are very young, and they are kind of aspirational. They listen to the podcast and watch the news about the GDP and the economy. And according to them, the accumulation of wealth, say, for example, you buy a bike or you install an AC or you get a bigger house, is what actually becoming prosperous and wealthy means. And it is kind of in contrast with the idea of being frugal, and something which, as our understanding is, you promote. How do you reconcile these two?
Well, I mean, it's very simple. I keep asking people, why should the GDP of a country increase? And they say me that, sir, because of the GDP increase, prosperity increase. I said, wow. And India's GDP, for example, has been growing since last 20 years, 5%, 6%, 7, even 9%. So every time when GDP grows by 5%, does it also result in growth of smiles by 5%? Prosperity means, smile should be increasing, right? That's not happening. Is it decreasing the smiles? Yes. Is the depression increasing? Yes. Is the violence increasing? Yes. Is the nature degrading? Yes. Is the climate change accelerating? Yes. Everything is in opposite direction than the growth that we, or so-called growth that we all look for. So I think my generations and my previous generation in India, I think, has failed clearly to communicate what does it mean to be prosperous. It does not mean to accumulate more wealth. It means to be more joyful, more peaceful, and more loving. I think that has to be the definition. And it has been clearly demonstrated that the more accumulation does not give you, more of joy and love and peace. Right? That has been clear. And that's why, despite the science growing, technology is growing, economy is growing, but the love between people is not growing. The brotherhood is not growing. On the other hand, violence is growing and depression is growing. So I think it's very clear. I mean, I keep saying, please just, hold on for a minute and observe yourself, what is happening. And it's not giving what we are looking for. And that's why it's important to young generation to understand that eventual what we want in life is different than accumulation of wealth itself. We need some wealth, but more wealth is not going to give more smile and happiness. Rather, more wealth is going to create more problems for you, because every time you produce something, consume something, it always results in carbon emission. When you brush your teeth, it results in carbon emission. When you wear a cloth, it results in carbon emission. When you cook food on LPG, it results in carbon emission. When you travel with the petrol and diesel, it results in carbon emission. So more you do, more you collect, more carbon emission you are going to cause, and that is going to come back to you only, nobody else, your own children, your own grandchildren. Nobody else is going to pay. And I keep saying, in Hindi, who is going to suffer from the climate change? Your own children, not padosi ka children. It's not only neighbor's children is going to suffer, your own children will suffer. Please be mindful of what you're doing.
But many people are very mindful on social media, for example. So there's lots of outrage about the pollution. There's lots of outrage about the garbage on the streets, and it somehow fails to get out of that online realm. So it's most of the there is no offline action for most of the people, but a lot of activism online. Can we do something about this?
Well, I mean, and first of all, what you're saying is absolutely correct. And I've been into so many, lectures and talks now. 750 talks I have given already so far in my yatra. And I would be giving a lecture, and people would be clapping and praising like anything. But the very same moment, they will be opening a plastic bottle for to drink a glass of water. I mean, I don't know why people cannot reckon with that the words are different than the deeds. And you're absolutely right. That's not matching at all. And I think I would like to quote Mahatma Gandhi. Once somebody asked, why people do wrong things. So Mahatma Gandhi said, because people have not understood the outcome of it. What is going to happen. And he gave an example, cobra, for example, the poisonous snake. If it bites us, we are going to die is absolutely clear in everybody's mind. So if cobra comes near you, you're going to run away, isn't it? You're not going to try, let me check whether it is biting or not. Let me check whether I'm going to die or not, right? Similarly, the consumption that we are making of petrol, diesel, LPG, plastics, we have no idea how dangerous and disastrous it is. And I think the moment we become aware about it, we will automatically correct our action. And that's why I have created this training course called Energy Literacy Training. And I encourage all the viewers to become energy literate. It is the illiteracy of energy that has created a problem. When you become literate about energy, that energy travels literally thousands of kilometers before it reaches you in the form of direct energy or indirect. Thousands of kilometers, an enormous amount of infrastructure is used before we consume a product or a material or energy. And that's why that's a disaster. So my course is available online for free. People should search Energy Swaraj portal, and then you can go to Energy Literacy Training course. Please do that course, and I'm sure your actions will be automatically corrected.
We'll definitely add this to the conversation, as a link. And would you say that the clock is ticking, and how much time do we have till emergency strikes, or is the emergency maybe already there?
Well, clock is ticking, and it's ticking very fast. And I keep telling people, let's also, what happens if you put a clock of your life in front of you? Suppose the clock in front of you says, you're going to die in 39 years and 14 hours and 12 minutes and 10 seconds. How would you behave in this world, right? You're going to behave definitely differently, right? Because it will constantly remind that, hello, you're not a permanent resident of this planet, and you're going to go away from this. The climate clock is ticking much, much faster, and the time it shows is much shorter. And 1.5 degrees centigrade climate clock, the time left as of today is some 5 years and 360 days, and I can show you the live number right now. So it's ticking, and it's ticking very, very fast. And I keep asking people, what do you think will happen once we cross the global warming of 1.5 degrees centigrade? Will there be a sudden disaster and everybody will die? And answer is absolutely no. No sudden disaster will happen. By the way, let me show the clock. So it's 5 years. Can you read the number?
Yeah, 5 years and 360 days, 5 hours and 13 minutes, I think.
Yeah,
45
5
seconds.
13 minutes.
Yeah. And the seconds are taken away just now.
Ticking right now, right?
Yeah.
So what is going to happen at 1.5 degrees centigrade global warming? Will there be sudden disaster? Answer is absolutely no. I keep telling people, don't worry, you will not get such an easy death. Nature is not going to kill you so easily. It will be so easy death if suddenly something happens, we all die. No, I mean, when the temperature crosses 1.5 degrees centigrade, irreversible changes in climate will start. And by 2 degrees centigrade, it will be completely irreversible. Beyond that, if all the humans in the world become sent and do nothing on this planet, and if they only wear a langot, do nothing absolutely, still you will not be able to correct it. And what will happen beyond that? More floods, more droughts, more heat waves, more cold waves, more forest fires, more ice melting, more sea level rise. Everything will become more and more, and we are going to suffer. So nature is not going to kill us so easily. In a movie, if there is a dangerous villain, how does a dangerous villain kills a hero? Not so easily, right? Tadpa, tadpa ke. So similar to that, nature is going to kill us tadpa, tadpa ke. And I keep asking people, if you want to understand what does it mean, go to Uttarakhand. Go to Himachal Pradesh, go to Canada where the forest fires are going on, go to the Spain where the flash floods are going on. So people who are there, they understand what does it mean to have a climate change. And I'm sure everybody is going to be affected on this planet, rich or poor, doesn't matter, American or African, doesn't matter. Everybody has to pay the price and going to suffer very, very dearly. And therefore, the wiseness lies in the fact that let us start taking action for climate correction right now without a single second of delay.
So some of our users would respond to this, like, okay, we go and vote, all the time, and then we choose a government. And isn't it the job of the government to take care of all this, because we elect them, So that attitude of sarkar hi dekh lega na, what do you do with it?
Well, I mean, first of all, I mean, many people feel that, and then my first thing, my first message to my yatra is, it is first of all, I keep asking, that who has caused the climate change, and invariably the answer is humans have done it, and I immediately point, are you not a human? Then they will correct themselves. No, we have done it, and I say no, not we, because when we say we, it is nobody's responsibility. But who is eating food? It's you. Who is eating? Who is wearing clothes? It's you. Who is enjoying the AC? Who is traveling? It's every human being. Whether rich or poor doesn't matter. Even a poor person consumes LPG to cook food, and he also travels. Rich person also does. American also does. African also does. So it is every individual who, because he or she is consuming energy and material, it is he or she that is causing. It is I am causing climate change. Government generate electricity, but government doesn't consume electricity. Industries are producing material, but industries are not consuming car themselves. So the real person who is contributing to climate change is each individual, not the government, not industry. Of course, government has to play some role, industry has to play some role, but I believe personally that the most important role has to be played by every individual. It is beyond any government. Doesn't matter how powerful the government is. Even if Narendra Modi ji wins 500 seats in Lok Sabha, I'm sure he can't do much, because every government are elected for a short term, 4 years and 5 years all over the world. Every government has a limited resources. So neither time is there, not resources are there, and therefore I believe it is every individual who has to take the climate corrective actions together with the government and industry and everybody else. Everybody has to be part of this, and that's why I keep saying it has to become a movement. It cannot be done by policies. It cannot be done by projects. It cannot be done by subsidies. It has to become a movement where you and I and everybody else starts thinking, I need to do it because I want to survive on this planet. I want to do it not for the love of my country, not for the society, but at least for more of my own body. I have duty for my own body to feed it a clean food and feed it a clean air and clean water. I have duty for my body to get it protected from the the extreme weather condition. I have duty for my own children to make sure that I leave behind a planet which is livable for them. And for living on the planet, the three most important thing is air, water, and soil. And I keep requesting all the parents, if you want to do something for your children, please, for the God's sake, don't create wealth. Don't accumulate wealth. For the God's sake, just leave behind three things: clean air, clean water, and clean soil. Can you do that? It looks like a hard task, but उतना ही करना है, अपने बच्चों को लायक छोड़, much better than you. They don't need your wealth, but what they need is a livable conditions on this planet.
Very true. But as a youngster, what can one as an individual do? Say, for example, just a normal common person living in, say, rural India. What would be the action plan, or what can that one individual do? Young guy.
Yeah, younger. So very. I mean, so definitely, first of all, the young person has not caused the climate change, and poor fellows to pay. So it's not his problem. I mean, he has not done it, but he has to pay for it. It's unfortunate part of the world. But what he can do is not add more into the problem. And what is the problem? The problem is carbon emission. So, and where does the carbon emission come from? Every action of human life. When you brush your teeth, carbon emission, and clothes, carbon emission, food, carbon emission, travel, carbon emission, infrastructure, carbon emission, road, carbon emission. So what a young person can do is, first of all, understand that the purpose of life is to be happy and joyful, which does not require a lot of resources. So reduce your consumption of material and resources that will take away the burden on your head to earn more. That will take away the stress from you, and at the same time you also going to contribute for mitigation of climate change by not emitting the carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases.
So it's also removing that burden which many actually feel, that you have to earn more, you have to take loans, you have to deliver, and that would be probably something good for the mental health as well. Maybe the question to the soul. Sorry. Please go ahead.
No, what I'm saying is there is too much of a stress on the young minds today, and I can see it, and I feel every day that they have so much of pressure to deliver and perform. And I think the parents and the professors have not been able to teach them properly that the whole purpose is that to enjoy the nature and enjoy the life, and for that you don't need a lot of all these things. But on the other hand, when you start looking outward, and it's not only you, but it is the society together has to be happy, then all your dimensions will change, your way of looking the world will change, and I guarantee every young person you are going to be much more happier than 100 crore rupees bank balance.
Absolutely. And why should India switch to solar and not any other form of energy?
Well, I mean, anything that is renewable is good. I mean, solar. When I say solar, in my understanding, solar means also wind energy, because ultimately wind blows because of the solar energy. Biomass is also wind energy. So hydro is also in a way solar energy, isn't it? Any form of energy that is renewable and that can be local is a great source of energy. So anything.
All right. Maybe the last question to you. You have been now traveling for 1,000 days, and people learn a lot from your yatra. Is there something which you have learned from people during this 1,000 days?
Absolutely. Yeah. Very good question. Yes, I have been learning many things myself, and I think yatra is still learning. Number one thing I've learned is that when I started my yatra, even as a professor, I never realized this, by the way. When I started my yatra, within 6 months, I realized that before I talk about solar energy, let me talk about energy itself. Isn't it? Understanding of energy itself is a big question mark. And I come across people, 99% people have no idea what energy is all about, including the very think tank, who are making policies in energy and making climate change policies. Making policies on power sector, I think their understanding of energy is extremely poor. 99% people have no idea what is happening and why it is happening and how to solve it. And everybody is trying to do a business as usual approach, which is not working out. Kyoto Protocol did not work. COP meetings are not working. CO2 emissions are not going down. They are actually increasing. Thousands of NGOs are doing something. Climate change is not stopping, not slowing down, which means that either we have not understood enough or we are not doing enough. So first thing I learned as part of my yatra is that, that let us talk about energy itself. And let us look at when I explain how electricity comes to somebody's home, when I explain the whole journey, it automatically stops everything. For example, how does the electricity come in the homes of India? Well, 74% of electricity in India comes from coal. isn't it? And about 20 to 30% of coal is imported. And from where it is imported? Some of it is from Indonesia, some is from Australia. And where is Australia? 10,000 kilometers away from India. How do we bring coal? First, we mine coal in Australia. Then the coal mines are not in the harbor of Australia. So we have to use the trains and trucks to bring it to the harbor of Australia. Then how do we bring it to India? Well, you have to use ship. And then you put the coal in the ship and then it travels 10,000 kilometers. Then you bring it to harbor of India. Then what you do? Then you put coal into the trains again, because the power plants are not sitting there at the harbor. So you again run that coal thousands of kilometers, hundreds of kilometers, bring it to power plant. Then what you do? Then you crush the coal, then you wash it, then you dry it. Then what you do? You burn the coal and generate steam. In that process alone, 65% energy of coal is lost. The power plant efficiency is only 35%. 65% of energy in the coal is lost in the plant itself. Then what you do, you generate steam. Then what you do with the steam, you run a turbine. Then what you do with that after that, you run a generator. Then you generate a voltage of 66,000 volt. Then what you do with the 66,000 volt? Well, you not 66, 660,000 volts, sorry, 660 kV. But you can't use 660 kV because it's too high voltage. Then you transmit the huge thick transmission distribution lines, hundreds and thousands of kilometers. Then what you do? Then you step down. And a 660 kV kilovolt becomes 440 kV in substation transformers. But that is also not good enough to use. Then what do you do? Again, transmit and distribute. Then 440 kilovolt becomes 330 or 220 kV. Then what you do? Again transmit and again transformer go from 220 kV to 110 kV. From 110 kV, go to another transformer, 66 kV. From 66 kV, go to another transformer, make it 33 kV. From that, go to another, make it 11 kV. And finally, at the end, there is another transformer sitting, which is converting 11 kV into 230 volt. Then finally, it comes to the meter and then to the homes. And what people do? They forget to switch off. What a disaster. And they use AC in the winter and they put blanket and they use 2-star rated refrigerator. I mean, what a disaster, what a crime that every individual does when he is using or she is using energy without knowing where it is coming from. That's literally a crime. Because once a carbon is emitted in the atmosphere, it has a life of 300 years. 300 years. So one day use of refrigerator, one day, use of refrigerator, one bath with the hot water with the geyser, 1 hour of air conditioning results in 1 unit of electricity consumption, which if it is coming from coal will have 1 kilogram of carbon dioxide emission, which will be there in the atmosphere for 300 years. So एक दिन का सुख is equal to 300 साल का दुख. 1 day of comfort is equal to 300 years of discomfort. What a crime that everybody, does on this planet by actually doing and consuming energy in this manner. And that's why, and who does it? Every energy illiterate does it. And who is energy illiterate? Everybody, Niti Aayog vice chairman, all bureaucrats, all professors, parents, everybody is energy illiterate. People have no idea. So that is one thing I think the most strongest and powerful thing I have learned is understanding energy literacy. And this course I have created, and I wish that it is used as a license to use energy. Like, for driving, we need a license. Similarly, to use energy, we have to use a license. You have to understand what happens to energy, where it comes, where it goes, what is the impact on environment. Without understanding of this complete picture, nobody should be allowed to use energy. And I think that is the greatest learning. And I keep telling my team that if the Energy Swaraj Foundation will ever get a Nobel Prize, it will be because of energy literacy training.
That's an incredible, and I wish everybody would just know about even this journey, even if it is extremely summarized. How does it actually, when you switch on your
what is happening?
What happens exactly?
Exactly.
It's not. Yeah, I even for me, it's a long way to learn individually, and I'm so happy we can transmit this message in our small way and contribute to your success and to success of Energy Swaraj Yatra. And we wish you all the very best. Thanks a lot for taking the time to speaking to us.
Thank you so much, Karuna, and it was pleasure to discuss with you. And I hope with this discussion, many people will learn and not only clap, but they should start taking action for the climate correction.
Offline action, exactly. Thank you very much.
Even more important, offline actions. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.